You want to know what it's like when you're not the only one who has eyes for that special certain symphony in your life? What it's like to really, really want symphony, only to discover that others feel the same way. Well, Starlight Glimmer was going through that exact feeling this very moment. Now, even a casual glance at her past would tell you that this was the sort of mare who did not take kindly to the notion of not being in control of a situation. But she liked to think she'd gotten a lot better at that sort of thing in recent years. There were, however, some situations that crossed a line for her, and her friend Starburst was definitely among those situations. Currently, the oblivious stallion was in the middle of the Ponyville Town Square, his nose in a book as always, with Starlight just out of sight for him, behind some bushes. He didn't even know she was there, even though every other passing pony would look awkwardly to the mare as her eyes narrowed towards him. But every time they gave her odd looks, she'd just smile at them and say the same thing. "Oh, I'm just watching him. Totally nothing creepy about that. If that's what you're wondering." They too smiled, but in an obviously forced way, as they hurriedly walked off as fast as their legs could take them. But Starlight's own smile would fade instantly when she realized that others were getting close to her target. The first of these, alas, was Trixie, who was always eager for an audience to do her magic tricks. And since Sunburst had proven that he was fairly interested in said magic, he was of course more than willing to sit and watch when she asked. But Starlight fumed, grinding her teeth as her childhood friend laughed and clapped to the showmare's performance. However, never let it be said that Starlight didn't know when to take a chance when one presented itself to her. And when Sunburst took his glasses off to give them a quick clean, she grinned wickedly. "Gotcha!" Having finally gotten that speck of grime off his lenses, returned his glasses to his face, only to discover, to his confusion, that Trixie was nowhere in sight. He looked around, but again, she was nowhere about. Maybe off to perform for somebody else? Whatever the case, she wasn't here, and while he was briefly disappointed, a quick shrug of his shoulders led him once more to draw his attention to his book. Had he looked up just a few seconds earlier, though, he'd have noticed the tiny puff of smoke that any expert in the magic world would recognize as the aftermath of a teleportation spell. Not one that Trixie had done, of course. And Starlight suddenly looked like one of those little fillies who tried to act all innocent even though every pony knew they'd done something they weren't supposed to. And her quick chuckle definitely added to the suspicion. That's one down. Unfortunately for her, she was not given much of a reprieve before having to keep her eyes peeled again, for a second mare now appeared to approach. Starlight grimaced, for she knew this next one would be tough. Maud Pie, Equestria's foremost rock expert, who casually trotted towards Sunburst with that usual stoic look of hers. Starlight struggled to hear what she was saying to her old friend when the two of them finally met up, though her novice-level lip-reading skills at least let her know that the word rocks was being said rather often. That didn't help her, of course, and she got back to the matter at Hooves, namely waiting for the right time to strike. This time she didn't need to wait for Dirty Glasses to help her. as Sunburst's attention was instead diverted unexpectedly by Pinkie Pie, who was walking along and just giving a friendly wave to all who passed by her. "Thank you, Pinkie," she remarked. Again, Sunburst turned back to look to his conversation partner, and again he discovered that she had disappeared. There was no proof of after magic this time, but there was a hole in the ground where there had definitely not been a hole before. And this time, Sunburst couldn't help but notice it, and while the hole in question was undoubtedly in the exact shape where Maud had been standing mere moments ago, the hapless stallion simply wasn't able to put two and two together, and so gave another shrug. Starlight, who was now holding a shovel all of a sudden, discarded the random tool before cackling to herself. "Oh, Sunburst, I bet you're assuming it's just some road maintenance or something." Silly, silly Sunburst. She closed her eyes for just a moment, and as she said that, but it was a move that she regretted. As soon as she opened them again, that there was now a third mare over by her friend that she would now have to deal with. But this time, she knew it would be the greatest challenge of them all. For this was no show mare or rock expert, but an alicorn princess. Specifically, it was the one she lived with, Twilight Sparkle, the Princess of Friendship. Now, Starlight considered Twilight a friend, as she did with all of the mares she'd seen today. But there was no question that Twilight had inadvertently stumbled onto something she really shouldn't have. And that something was a stallion that Starlight believed to be hers, and hers alone. Twilight and Sunburst struck up a conversation immediately, which was no surprise, given that they knew they had a whole bunch of stuff in common. But with every word they spoke, Starlight's rage grew and grew. "Mine, precious! That stallion is mine! Precious!" Here, she knew she had to be at her best. This was not a case of being sneaky or quick. It was a case of her doing something totally unexpected, something beyond the bounds of normal thinking, something that no pony, not even the famed mistress of magic, Twilight Sparkle herself, would ever conceive of. And luckily, Starlight had just a plan in mind. So, taking a look at confidence, she emerged from her hiding place behind those bushes and walked right over to the two. She treated it as though she were on a mission, and before long, the two finally noticed her presence. They smiled to her, as they would on any day, and they kept on smiling even after noticing the serious look she bore. She arrived at where they were, looking from Sunburst to Twilight and back again, before finally addressing her own friend. "Sunburst, this is for your own good." And the stallion tilted his head in slight confusion, and Starlight looked back over to Twilight, placing a hoof upon her shoulder. "Twilight, we both know you do the same in my place." There was no warning, no explanation, no preamble, just Starlight letting up her horn, gathering her greatest magical power, and just blasting Twilight square in the face. Now, being as experienced in being shot with magic as she was, this did nothing to hurt Twilight, but she was sent flying off into the sky by the force of the spell, higher and higher, until she was just a twinkle in that big expanse of blue. There was even a handy-dandy twinkle sound as it happened, which of course left only Starlight and Sunburst. The latter stared, mouth agape, at the sky his alicorn friend had just been sent to, before looking back down to Starlight. And just in time, for the mare brought her face right up to him, staring into his eyes as though gazing into his very soul, before uttering the words he just knew she'd have to say at this point. "Sunburst, you are my Stallion. Not theirs. Mine. Sunburst, for his part, merely adjusted his glasses before blinking briefly.
Okay.
Instantly, Starlight smiled sweetly to him, leaning forward and giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. Lovely! And just like that, she spun around and happily trotted off in the opposite direction, leaving a very bewildered-looking stallion.
This is one of those moments that's going to have me sleeping with one eye open, isn't it?
Support me on Patreon and Ko-fi, linked in the description. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, every pony.